Thank you for joining us for our third session and discussion about maladaptive daydreaming. So today's focus is going to be talking about how serious is maladaptive daydreaming actually. So I have with me today Glen San Juan, who is a hypnotherapist who focuses on such things as smoking cessation, helping with addictions and weight loss, and additionally maladaptive daydreaming.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Nicole. I am with Nicole Vetter, who is a former maladaptive daydreamer and content creator. And I'm very happy to be talking with her today.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we're continuing this series.
Yep.
And I think this is a really great topic because if somebody hears about this the first time, they might be like, okay, hold on a second. This doesn't sound so bad. It just sounds like
Yeah.
you have a really active imagination. What's the
Right.
big deal, right? But the thing is maladaptive daydreaming really kind of eats up your life. And,
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to kind of call it. But for me specifically, I know that on my channel, we've been talking a lot about, when do people engage in maladaptive daydreaming? And
Right.
someone said that, they only did it on public transportation. And to
Sure.
me, that was fascinating because I was like, wait, hold on a second. I do it all the
Sure.
time, everywhere. It doesn't matter where I am. Even when I'm surrounded by people, like I'll be on a hike with someone and I'll still do it.
Mhm.
Um, and could just imagine how much brain power that takes, how much time it sucks.
Sure.
Um, Additionally, it affects different parts of your life, right? So there was someone that I know who, and I think I mentioned this on, the last session that we did, that someone thought they had their teachers thought they had a learning disability because they were really slow in school. They couldn't focus. They couldn't, complete like a a 3-part task.
Mhm.
And it's really just maladaptive daydreaming, which I think should have been a big tell there, that they couldn't actually, diagnose them with a specific learning disability.
Right.
But that's the problem with maladaptive daydreaming is it's not in the DSM. It's not something that's widely talked about. It's not something that a psychologist, psychiatrist, a teacher would automatically be like, wait, hold on, this is something we should consider. No, that's not going to happen yet, right? Because it's just not out there.
Right.
Um,
I mean, you'll have a
but
lot of parents. Oh, I was just going to say that there's a lot of parents out there that will be like, well, my child always has been just like kind of in their head about things.
yeah,
And because there's a lot of like therapists, counselors that will say like, well, they don't have they don't necessarily have things that qualify as something that's in the DSM. They'll just say that they're just in their head a lot. And well, they just need to work on focusing more. When really they want to do those kind of things, but their daydreams are so active and taking over what's in their present reality that it's hard to get out of it and it's hard to catch, especially if you don't know anything about it, since most people don't.
right. And additionally, I didn't even know it was the thing. It had a name until, I don't know, like 3 years ago. And I've been doing it my whole life. But I think, what we just kind of mentioned is the academic life. For me, I would spend mornings, like engaging in maladaptive daydreaming instead of paying attention to class. So just
Right.
imagine how much I missed and how much more I could have been engaged, how much more I could have learned.
Right.
And even in that affected my grades, so I could have led a completely different life if I hadn't had to use this as a coping mechanism. So in regards to some of the people that you've spoken with and treated, how have they seen that their lives have been affected by this?
So a big part of it is studying too, especially those who want to, let's say they want to do better in exams, and they do have goals of they want to get that career, they want to get those good grades so they can make it, so they can actually advance themselves in life. But it's those daydreams that are holding them back, whether it is something like pornography or whether it is all these other scenarios that's preoccupying their mind. It's when they're stuck in their head this whole time that they can't move forward. And so that's why I want to ask you, Nicole, at what point did you realize that it was a problem for you? That it's like, oh, this might be something I might actually need help with.
I don't know that I was ever like, I need help for it, because I think I had so much shame about it, because
Sure.
that's what I was taught a lot as a child. So I think it was probably around high school when, kind of started having that self-awareness and being like, hold on a second, I don't think anyone else is doing this. Like, this isn't normal. I've never heard anyone talking about this. I don't know what this is. Am I crazy? But it
Sure.
was I don't know that it was ever something like, oh, I need to talk about this. I did talk to it, with one of my first therapists, but I was so scared to talk about it. I was so shamed. And it was something that I was like willing to hide forever and ever and ever, It's almost kind of weird that I am talking about it now, because I really had not talked about this, told anyone up until, I don't know, a few months ago.
Right. And there's a lot of people that are in that same situation because, I mean, it's so personal.
Mhm.
Everyone's got their own personal daydreams.
Yeah,
And a lot of people will say that, even if I did explain it, who would understand?
exactly.
Because it is so personal and it's very unique for each person. How could anybody else understand? And so that's why it's kind of hard getting help and
Mhm.
even identifying what it is you're looking help for. I'm personally glad that it's coming to light more of that there are resources and there's people out there that have this
Mhm.
and they're not alone with these
Right.
issues.
Yeah, there's been a few articles recently, which is really exciting. And I really hope there's just more conversation and more topics.
Yeah,
And with some of the people that you've spoken to, what are the things that they want to get back in their lives if they stop?
sure. So a lot of them, especially once they realize how much time they've been spent daydreaming, whether it's a few hours a day or whether it does take an entire day,
Mhm.
a big part of it is time and the potential that they know that they're smart enough to actually keep going with their lives. They could be building what they could have had a long time ago, like whether it's a young person who wanted to spend more time actually studying, focusing on school so they can get that career, or even those who are later in life who they feel like they wasted so much time in their head pacing around their room or just talking to themselves in their head about things. So it's really, time is a big one. How much time that you definitely can't get back. It's like no matter how much money you have, you can never get that time back.
Yeah.
And so people want that. I mean, you can never get it back, but you can at least work toward whatever goals you have with the time that you do have left. And I think that's a scary thought that a lot of people have to confront with, that is there.
For me specifically, it was the fact that I had done all this work and I'd put in all this effort into myself, and I feel like I'd really done a lot of healing, but I was still engaging in maladaptive daydreaming
Mhm.
and, like really, really engaging in it. It was everything to me. And I really did want a real life romantic relationship. And I knew that I could not have that if I
Mhm.
continued maladaptive daydreaming, because I couldn't put in the proper effort and the proper time into it and just really be there and intentional.
Sure.
And that was really like the main thing for me, is like, I know that if I give this up, I will have the opportunities to have the type of relationship that I know that I can have now that I've done all this healing.
Right.
And I was just like, I have to go for it. I have to give it a shot. And it's been great. Yeah.
Does that mean, like, what else do you have to lose other than the time that you've already lost?
Right.
You gotta start at some point in order to, make that change so you can go forward in life. And
Yep.
that's something I did want to ask you. I mean, since you've been in the world of maladaptive daydreaming, at least daydreaming in your own head, has anyone actually approached you and said, "Hey, it's like, is there something that do they ever know? Have you ever had someone like your parents, or whether it was like a friend, or say like, hey, listen, did you catch what I was saying?" Or
Yeah, only once, and shockingly only once. I'm like really surprised that I kept it so private, but I remember I was in college and um I was living with a bunch of roommates in like a suite, and one night I was staying up late doing math homework because I was dreading this math homework. I hated this class. And I was like, I
yeah,
got to do it. And I was just sitting there and I was so frustrated and I was like venting and I was like, to my paracosm. And
yeah, yeah,
all of a sudden my friend, it was like late at night, so everyone's asleep, she got up to go pee, and then she saw like I was really like moving a lot. She was like, what? And she walked into the kitchen where I was studying and she goes, Nicole, are you okay? Is everything? She was like looking around the corner to see who I was talking to. And there's no one there, no one, absolutely. She caught me and she's coming from behind me, so I can't, I can't prepare for this. I don't see her coming at all. I'm just full blown having a conversation with nobody. And I was
sure,
like, yeah, I'm just studying. And she just left it at that. Thankfully she didn't ask too many questions. I don't know what I would have told her.
right.
But yeah, it was just, I really cannot think of any other moment where, and this kind of shocks me because I really have done it for so long and I was so engaged in it. But I just, now that I really think about it, and I've had all these experiences, talking to other people who have it, and their comments on my feed, and I'm always kind of surprised that no one's ever been like, Nicole, you look a little spaced out,
Yeah.
because like, I'll be with people and I'll, it's still in my head, like,
Yeah.
and it's no, but I mean, I guess my parents aren't they're not going to really point out those things. So I wonder if they saw stuff and just like never said anything about it.
It kind of goes back to the seriousness of it. Because
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, how serious is it that someone's talking to themselves? Well, okay, maybe they do have schizophrenia, you don't want to judge either. But then to the individual, how much time are they spending doing that instead of actually getting something done that they actually should be getting done or they want to get done? And then
Right.
before you know it, that's actually happening all the time. And the room is shut all the time. And you can hear them talking to themselves or walking around, but no one else is there. Or maybe they are on their phone. That's the thing. It's because a lot of people don't notice like what to watch out for, or, you don't want to be that person that tells you that you don't want to be that person who tells someone else, hey, listen, I think, you got something going on either.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in our society, it's very difficult to say that. We don't want to give each other that type of feedback. We don't want to
Yeah,
step over that line. It's very scary, which
sure.
makes it kind of sad because I think that can be the most powerful thing. Like when I was, in my addiction with alcohol, I was really bad. No one called me out on it. No one was like, Nicole, like, I think you need help. I had to do that for myself, which is like really sad because I had no clue. I did not realize how bad I was and
Sure.
what, where I really was in my life until, then you realize and you're like, oh shit. But additionally, just the fact that it also affects these other parts of your life, right? And if it affects your academic career, it affects your professional career because
Right.
the focus is not there, right?
Yep.
So just imagine all these people walking around and all they want to do is engage when they can't engage in their actual day-to-day career and whether they want progression or just stability at work, right? I mean, people get fired over the smallest things sometimes. So
And it kind of goes to, where people would like to be, I mean, no one wants to be harshly criticized or anything, but I mean, if people are more willing to like say, hey, let me at least point out, like, hey, I noticed this. How big
more
it
like, I'm worried about you,
right. Just like
that's something that
just like
minor.
kind of like the same lines of like, if you see someone with like spinach in their teeth or something like that, like, hey,
Right.
listen, or
You'd
like
hopefully call you
or
out
their
on it.
tag is like sticking up in the back of their shirt. Hey, listen, let me help you out here. Just
Yeah.
those little things that just gives a little bit of humanity. And
Right.
now that maladaptive daydreaming, is starting to come into light, people can notice these things and say, hey, maybe there is something that is going on behind the scenes that this person could probably use some help with.
And I think the other thing for me the other piece that really got me to, say like, I don't want to engage in this anymore was
Yeah,
can't be present in your everyday life. Like every vacation, every hike I've ever done has always had this, right? So I'm not fully present, right? Because when you're maladaptive daydreaming, for me, like there's this filter that comes over and it's like, I'm not really here.
sure.
I one of the posts that I did the other day was like, oh, I went on my first like really long hike without maladaptive daydreaming.
Sure.
And it's fine. It was great. It was lovely. It was just me and my friend in the woods and there was nothing else distracting me. When we were quietly walking, because there was like, difficult parts, we're like going uphill and we're like out of breath.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm not engaging with my paracosm. I'm just walking.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much did I really miss out on life? How much did I not fully enjoy, and like, so I have my first vacation really coming up since stopping maladaptive daydreaming. And it's like, wow, like I'm actually really going to be alone on this, 2-week trip for the first time. Every time I've traveled, oh, they're always there. They're always around me.
Sure.
And I'm like really excited to see what this feels like and how much more I get out of this trip and just what this experience will be like. And
Sure.
but I will say additionally, I feel like when I have gone on previous trips and if I didn't necessarily feel as comfortable being by myself, there was that comfort of even though they're not, my paracosm isn't physically present. It was like this, like, okay, I'm not alone. And now I'm like, okay, I actually am going out alone, fully
Yeah.
alone, just me, myself, and I.
Right.
So it's gonna be really interesting, but I'm really excited. I'm excited that I gave myself the opportunity to experience that.
Sure. And that would be really exciting. That's something that I think a lot of people would be interested to hear after you come back, what it was like. not having that other person in your head that you could have bounced information off of. Because I think there are a lot of other people out there that, I mean, whether you want to call it paracosm, imaginary friends, whatever it is, because they're in their head
Mhm.
talking to someone or to themselves, it takes away from what else really is around you
Right.
and how wonderful life really is, especially once you can get out. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that.
And I think one of the final pieces that I kind of want to touch upon kind of
Yeah,
connects all of these things too, especially like the relationship piece,
right.
is when you're in your paracosm, right? You have full control over everything the characters say and do and your interactions with them,
Yep.
which it's a lot of control. And then, like now that I'm not connected to that and I'm out of it and I'm actually like having more interactions with real life people and like dating a real life person,
Mhm.
it's difficult because I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I'm not going to get every single thing that I want just automatically. Like I have to ask for things. I have to set boundaries. I have to communicate. Like,
And they have feelings too, right?
yes, and these are the scary things, and these are the difficult things. But I think additionally, what I've realized is these are exactly the things that I was avoiding
Mhm.
because, having to say those things and having to ask for things to my brain, my PTSD brain, like that's conflict and it freaks out and it goes like, oh my God, I can't say that, I can't do that. They might get upset at me,
Yep.
and and that's exactly what I was avoiding. But at the same time, I'm glad that I have the opportunity to deal with those things that I was avoiding
Sure.
because that's really living, it's we attribute like a lot of negativity to certain emotions, but
Mhm.
like we need those emotions. If we don't have the bad emotions, right, we're not going to appreciate the good ones.
Right.
So I'm really grateful that I have these opportunities now where I can be dating someone and be like, oh, okay, I have to say something that I do not want to say. I do not want to deal
Mhm.
with this. My brain is freaking
Sure.
out. I'm going to do it. And then you do it and you're like, oh, okay, they didn't freak out. They didn't lose their mind. It like, they didn't break up with me. It's not the end of the world. Oh my God, this is okay. All right. What? But it's like, you need to practice those things. And I wasn't
Right.
practicing them, when I was engaging
It's
on
like
that.
it's something that that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people say that they want to improve their skills, they want to
Yeah.
improve,
Right.
all sorts of like all sorts of things that are going on in their lives. And it takes skill and it takes a lot of, I mean, it takes improvement. And when you're not doing that and you're only doing that in your head, that's when those skills start to degrade. It's like that muscle of like, whether you're working out or something. I mean, if you don't use it, if you don't use your social skills,
Right.
then it's going to suffer.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think there's a lot of people that also with maladaptive daydreaming will say that they have issues with is just they want to rebuild that skill. And it
Right.
goes back to, I mean, the seriousness of maladaptive daydreaming, why it's bad, it's as bad as it is because people regress
Mhm.
and skills that are pretty normal for regular people to go out, have fun, go out
Yeah.
for a walk, go talk to other people.
Right.
And a lot of people feel like that's becoming lost because they're in their head so much.
Right. Yeah. And it's important to practice those skills, how scary they may be. I'm just so excited that I get this opportunity. I feel like I'm living a second life now that I've kind of stopped because I am kind of living a second life. And I
Mhm.
will say it was really interesting. I moved here and I stopped. And the first 3 months, I kind of felt like a blank slate. And I was like, okay, this is weird, scary. And I freaked out and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I was like, wait,
Sure.
hold on a second. You literally get a second chance at life. Go do whatever you want. Like, what do you want? Go figure it out and go do that. Because this is like, you're never going to get this again. And once I kind of switched that and was like, okay, these are opportunities. I don't have to be scared. I can just go.
Yep.
Things got a lot easier.
Sure. And that's the thing. I mean, like once you can release those anxieties of that got you in maladaptive daydreaming in the
Yeah.
first place, because that's the reason why a lot of people want to go into their daydreams because there is something better
Mhm.
that's in their head
Yeah.
when you have reality in front of you that you do got to work to.
Right.
Like, of course, there's going to be work. Of course, there's going to be some hardship,
Yeah.
but it's how much do you want that too? Like, how much do you want that for your real life to be
Right.
instead of being at home in your room or in your bed, just daydreaming about what it could be?
I really enjoy this conversation. I hope everybody got a lot out of this. And once again, I'm Nicole Vetter. I'm a content creator. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram.
Yep. And I'm Glen San Juan. Feel free to look me up on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.